Nice.
All right. So, welcome to episode 4 of Over Soju. I'm Cho. I'm here with Kyung. Say hello.
Hello.
So, what are we doing today, Kyung?
All right, so you and I, we watched the movie Peninsula, the sequel of Train to Busan, which was a very popular zombie movie in Korea and also overseas.
Yeah.
So we were wondering what Peninsula, the movie, was like.
I guess as a whole, I had already heard a little bit about this movie just from other friends that had watched the movie. A lot of them said that they hated the movie.
Sure, I heard similar things.
Yeah, exactly. So when I watched it and then finally finished it, I understand why people are very disappointed about the movie. Nevertheless, I still think it was a competent, I guess you could say, like summer movie, like a competent summer action movie.
Yeah, like I told you before, it was kind of like a good bad movie.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Also, just a little side note about the movie. So it's directed by the same person, Yun Sang-ho, who he also directed the original, and the main actor is Kang Dong-won. And his claim to fame, he's been in a couple of different things: Secret Reunion, The Priest. He's a pretty up and coming actor these days. But so let's just jump right into it. What did you think, I guess, as you were watching the beginning of the movie?
I thought it had a very good premise.
Yeah.
First off, well, in Train to Busan, it was 90% of the film was on the KTX.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very genuine idea.
Yeah. By the way, we should also mention to our listeners, we're probably going to be doing spoilers during this entire movie review.
We will, sorry. So, watch the movie first and then tune in.
Yeah. But yeah, same with you. I also thought that Train to Busan, I thought it was a very inventive, original idea. Sure. I loved how they created the zombies, and also specifically that night and day concept, where I shouldn't say night and day, but just basically like darkness concept, where the zombies were kind of in a dormant state whenever there was no sunlight. I thought that was really cool.
Like through the tunnel, you mean?
Yeah, through the tunnel, and then they also used it here as well in the sequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I felt like Train to Busan utilized more of a realism concept, where, you know, they didn't really have the tools to fight the zombies. They just had to kind of, you know, use their human instincts.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. I never really thought about that. Yeah.
But, you know, transitioning to Peninsula. Yeah. I felt like, they're equipped. It's been 4 years since that apocalypse in the Peninsula, but still, some of the scenes were kind of like ridiculous.
Yeah, they were.
It was a realism equipped with a machine gun, you know?
Yeah. So. I mean, just going back to the beginning, I had very high hopes when I was watching the first, I guess you say 10 to 15 minutes of it, because they had the scene where I guess the remaining survivors, they're trying to get onto a boat that was originally going to go to Japan, but then they had to detour to Hong Kong, but then turns out there was an infection on the boat. And I thought that was actually a very emotional scene, because for the main character, his sister and sister's son unfortunately dies during the zombie attack.
It was seamless, dude. I mean, because Train to Busan was like that. You know, it didn't really give a hoot who died or not. You know, it's just like just kind of like hinging on how the character will react to the deaths, sacrifices. And then the opening scenes of Peninsula were like that.
Yeah. But then, I mean, that's the beginning. Oh, we should also mention that for the main character, he and his sister and sister's family, they were driving to the boat, and on the way, there was another family whose car had broken down, and they were pleading with the main character to let them ride, or at least take their baby. That's important to know, which we'll get into in a couple moments later. But as we're going, the ferry, like zombie attack, and then all of a sudden just jumps 4 years later.
Yes, exactly. I mean, did you ever wonder why it was 4 years later?
I guess a little bit. Let me just, as I'm flipping through my notes right here.
Okay.
I can understand why they kind of wanted to have a big jump because of just how because this is a sequel. The first one was so acclaimed. It was a financial and critical success. And so they wanted to create it a much larger scale.
Sure.
I would say it's similar to what they did with the zombie movie 28 Days Later and then 28 Weeks Later. With 28 Weeks Later, like they had a bigger budget, so obviously they wanted to just do everything, twice the size.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of comparable to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. 28 Days Later was very realistic, low budget.
Yeah.
But 28 Weeks Later, they equipped it with a shotgun or a machine gun.
Yeah.
Right? Digitized.
Yeah.
If you call it that.
Yeah. And then, so we get to 4 years later, and this is where, I guess, for me, I start with one of my main gripes of this movie. Hold on, let me take a swig of beer because I'm going to go on a rant for a little bit.
Go ahead.
So basically, my main problem with this movie is I think there's little to no character development whatsoever. I think that for the main character, he's the only one that really has any character development, and even that is a little bit bare bones. And then,
sure, even his brother-in-law that survives.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, he deserves more of a character development.
Yeah.
But it's all about, I guess, the individual self. When they are briefed by one of those Hong Kong gangsters that there's money still in Seoul.
Yeah. So as we're catching up 4 years later, we find out that the main character's brother-in-law, and then 2 other Koreans, they get hired by a Hong Kong gang to retrieve $20 million of $20 million US dollars that were stuck in a truck somewhere in Seoul.
Sure.
And that's also, I guess, another gripe I have about this movie. I think the motivations are kind of stupid for wanting to get the characters back to Korea.
Sure, just for 20 US million. I mean, well, sorry, get that out. Just for 20 US million. I mean, US 20 million. How do you say it?
20 million US dollars.
20 million US dollars.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to cut that out, by the way.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not. No, we're not cutting that out.
Fine, we'll leave that on.
I mean, I guess, I think it was just kind of a cop-out of a motivation.
Yeah.
I think it should have, although, I guess, now that I think about it, I don't know if I could think of anything better. Well, obviously, I'm not a scriptwriter, but I was hoping that the motivation would be maybe a little bit more personal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, for example, maybe there's family left over.
Exactly,
maybe there's something more sentimental to retrieve other than just, cotton dollars.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing that I thought about was, they're retrieving 20 million US dollars.
Yeah.
Because maybe they need to fund the budgeting of this film. The director is probably in Hong Kong saying, get that money.
Yeah. Now, before they agree to the deal and go to Korea, I did wish that they had spent a little bit more time just kind of exploring the interactions between, I guess, these quote-unquote refugees from Korea and also the local Hong Kong population. I think that would have been... I think that could have been fleshed out a little bit better. I would have been interested to see the interactions like that.
When those 4 returned to Korea, they were only just dead set on money.
Yeah.
Maybe the main character, you kind of get his kind of guilt that's left behind.
Yeah.
But the other characters, you just see, you just see dollar signs in their eyes.
Exactly.
So,
I think the main character, maybe he started off with a little bit of a death wish.
Yeah.
And then the other guys, the brother-in-law and the 2 other random Korean people.
You didn't really know what was going to happen to them because they didn't even have a background.
Yeah, we don't know any. The most information I got was that one of the other Korean gang of four. It was I guess basically an elderly lady.
She was a taxi driver.
Yeah, she had mentioned that she was a taxi driver. Right. And I was thinking, oh, that's okay. Can you maybe explore that a little bit more? No, that's it.
Gets thrown out of the car.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but so then when we finally get to Korea, things started to pick up a little bit. Things started to look a little bit more promising.
Sure.
I remember like you had mentioned before that the kind of how to say, like chaotic apocalyptic scenes of Seoul were really cool.
No, I like the scenery of abandoned cars. The greenery that overtakes the civilization.
I thought that was cool.
The infrastructures.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, you don't really see that. You don't really know that if that looks like Seoul.
Yeah, that's true.
But towards like,
as the movie progresses,
towards the climax and the end, you kind of see, they did a good CGI work on that.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool how there were a lot of brand names that we see pretty commonly in Seoul, whether it be like department stores, or coffee shops, or bookstores, and like there's certain locations that I'm pretty sure that like I have been to at least one of those locations, or basically the exact design of the store.
But did you see any references? Did you see any like infrastructure that you kind of thought of as references?
That I was trying to look out, but I mean, there were certain things, certain buildings that did look somewhat unique, but I couldn't really point out anything.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think I remember you had mentioned before that there was a certain building, like tower, that is pretty recognizable.
Oh yeah, so but the characters aren't involved in that.
Yeah,
they're not there. I think. I hope not. But yeah, I mean, long story short, that building was built, I think, this year in Yeouido, Yeouido-dong, Yeouido Island, or whatever you call it. And that building wasn't even built in Train to Busan. So was the owner of the building saying, hurry up before the apocalypse. And then the construction workers are saying, but there are zombies on the second floor.
Yeah.
I don't give a hoot.
Yeah. Speaking of zombies and kind of the action scenes, I thought the close-up action scenes were pretty cool, especially the ones done by the main character.
Yeah.
But when they started to expand it out into kind of the CGI and car chases, I think that's where things started to break down.
No, I mean, I think that the costumes, the makeup of the zombies indicate, I mean, it was the same as Train to Busan, right?
Well,
I mean, but except for the CGI effects.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the desire to blow this up into a summer blockbuster picture.
Yeah.
But the CGI, when I saw the CGI the first time in this movie, I immediately thought of World War Z, the scenes when they were in Israel, and how even at that time, that movie came out in 2013.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, people were like, that CGI is not that good.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think it was much better than, I think Dawn of the Dead, the very original, was even much better than...
Because they were using practical effects.
Right.
Like they had real people. Exactly. I mean, I wish they'd maybe spent a little bit more time on CGI. This is a little bit of a side note, but for a country like Korea, which is so technologically savvy, I would imagine that they would have a better like CGI industry for their movies. I know, animators in Korea, they get hired by other top-rated animated shows. I know it's like The Simpsons. I believe a lot of the animation's actually done in Korea as well.
Well, a lot of Koreans and I think Korean Americans and from other countries get hired by places like Marvel.
Yeah, like Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Credit their CGI effects.
Yeah.
But the country itself.
Yeah.
The CGI is still a little questionable.
Exactly.
Just watch Peninsula and you'll see.
Yeah, but there were a couple of inventive things that I saw during the action scenes. I remember at one point, this little girl, she was using a remote controlled car to distract the zombies away, and she had kind of rigged it up so like the RC car had this little party ball that shoot out spinning colors, had music. Right. I thought that was actually really cool.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
But when the car chase scene started happening, I thought that was a total 180 from like a very like sinister mood to something that's more lighthearted. You know, because like a little girl from, you know, driving the SUV, she rolls down her window and says, "Get in if you want to live." Where have we heard that?
Yeah, exactly.
Terminator series, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I will say that the director, I give him credit for maybe trying to do something new, trying to continue the story, but to make it a little bit more action-packed genre, just like any other summer action movie. But unfortunately, it didn't really work out this time.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. And I thought that it derived from a lot of, you know, variations of other zombie movies. You know, they kind of like took it piece by piece. Like, for example, like Walking Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Zombieland in terms of humor, right?
Yeah.
But not too much.
Yeah, and speaking of Walking Dead, I guess kind of along the same gripe I had about character development, the main antagonists of this movie, it's a group of, I guess you could just simply say like criminals and, I don't know, mercenary kind of groups. They're called Unit 631, where they just go around scavenging and then taking prisoners and using these prisoners for their own personal enjoyment by putting them in these kind of arena pits where it's humans versus zombies.
Yeah.
I thought that was straight out of Walking Dead.
Exactly. Yeah. And well, I thought the potential was there though.
They did, yeah.
Because Unit 631, it was an army unit, and they were looking for like help to get airlifted out of Korea.
Yeah.
But no help came.
Yeah.
So then they kind of acted like a very renegade unit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I guess I can understand that they needed to have some type of human antagonist. It couldn't just be the main characters versus zombies. Yeah. That they need to also have like a human villain. But I just thought we've just seen it so many times before.
Yeah, you say it well, because in Train to Busan it was human versus zombies.
Yeah.
And a mix of humans versus humans that have more nefarious motives.
Yeah.
But
it was grayer, though, in Train to Busan. I mean that as a compliment.
And more realistic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You start to see the breakdown of humans.
Right.
Yeah.
And Peninsula, it was kind of like, you know, the zombies are just kind of like a hurdle obstacles.
Yeah.
I mean, that you just kind of like walk over without running.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like it was just too much straight good guys versus bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was around this point as well where the main character meets some other survivors. It's basically a small family. It's the mom, 2 daughters, and also a grandpa. And the mom, turns out that she was the same mom that the main character had passed by in the beginning. Like the mom was begging the main character to take her daughter. I thought that was a really cool twist.
What was your reaction when she kind of returned?
Well, I mean, at first I didn't recognize it until they had that they had that quick scene of the flashback.
Right.
And then when I realized that was the same mom from the beginning, I was thinking, oh, that's actually really cool. I thought that mom in the beginning was just like one and done, but she's a continuing character.
I see.
And I was thinking, oh, this could be really cool about their interactions, about how how that event is going to be explained.
Right. Well, she in a way kind of supplements the main character's development.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, she feeds into his guilt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. But what were you saying?
Oh, so I mean, well, to kind of springboard off of what you were just saying, like, you know, the main character, his development is that he's being extremely logical in the beginning. You know, only cares about him and his family, no one else. You know, even if they need help.
Yeah.
But as the movie progresses on, and as he's interacting with that mom and the 2 daughters, he starts to become a little bit more sympathetic, and it affects his actions as well.
Right.
But like the mom and the main character, I had pretty high hopes when they met again. But then when it gets time to the confession, where the main character tells him, tells her, hey, that was me at the beginning that left your family by the side of the road while I only cared about my family.
Right.
And then I thought that confession was going to be fleshed out a little bit more. I thought there was going to be conflict. I thought there was going to be a wide range of emotions.
A shootout. No, but she just throws him the gun.
Yeah, she just says, like...
Let's go.
She said, like, that's done. All right, time to go. Yeah. And I guess that is somewhat of a... like, I mean, no, that's... I would not say that's a logical reaction.
Well, here it is. Yeah, I agree with you because... Here's the thing, like in the beginning scene, it was not only her and her daughter, but it was also her husband.
Yeah.
But you don't know if he was bitten or wounded in the car accident because you see blood
that's right.
down his chest.
Yeah.
So, like, if the main character confesses to her now that it was I that abandoned you, and I was the 31st car that, didn't give a crap about you.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were the mom, I'd shoot him.
I mean, I was expecting rage, chaos. Yeah. I was expecting, screaming, shouting, hitting. But the mom was just like, no, back to business.
Yeah, exactly. But in fact, she did tell him that, you are indebted to me.
Yeah.
So you have to save my daughters if something goes bad. If something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, what your reaction is giving me was that's not enough.
Basically, yeah. I mean, especially if it's a mom and thinking about what the emotions of a parent would be if I met someone who put my child in danger.
Yeah.
And then later on, I find out that this is the same guy. I would definitely be a lot more pissed.
Like I said, I shoot him. I mean, with the loaded gun in front of me. So
I guess at the end of the day, long story short, I just thought the confession just came off too easy.
Yeah,
it came off kind of cheap. Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, it was cheap.
Yeah, so and that kind of leads back into the gripe I've been talking about constantly: character development. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I honestly thought that character development was more devoted to Unit 631 than the family.
Do you really think?
Well, you kind of see how, you kind of see the ill intentions throughout the characters, like the sergeant, who is very suspicious of his captain. Mm-hmm. Well, for good reason, because the captain kind of finds out that there's $20 million in that truck. Yeah. And he wants to keep it for himself. Yeah. Probably kill the cripple, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, who reports it to him.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. But, I mean, aside from that, I do wish we got to know the captain a little bit more. I do wish we could have gotten to know his backstory a little bit. Because he seemed like he had these, like, kind of interesting traits. He also looked like he had, like, styled hair where everyone else just looked completely disheveled.
Well, he did have corned teeth.
I'm sorry, what's corn teeth?
Well, he did have teeth that looked like corn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, all those guys.
Well, I mean, the guy looks stylish.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the only dent in his appearance was corned teeth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I guess, like, as we're going towards, like, in the second half of the movie, we see how this Unit 631, how they operate both inside and outside their base, right. And then how the main character and his group, they try to recover the $20 million that was actually, it got stolen by Unit 631.
Yes.
Just afterwards, like I started to understand why people thinks that this movie was quite a disappointing sequel.
Sure. And I thought that maybe the $20 million was more relevant for Unit 631 because they kind of needed that escape, and they had they had that history that they kind of wanted to flush out by going to Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't really relevant for the protagonists.
Well, I mean, it was a little bit relevant for the protagonist because that's why I wish they had fleshed out the kind of refugee in Hong Kong area aspect of the movie.
Yeah. Well, for the main character, he didn't really care about the money. I think the rest three, his brother-in-law, the taxi driver, and that other dude.
Yeah.
Well, they, like I said, they only had dollar signs in their eyes.
Well, yes and no, because for the main character as well, I do say, like, I do agree with you that he had that kind of, he did have a little bit of a different mentality about it, but also could imagine that, he's also considered as a refugee, that, this money could possibly change his life. So,
I do think so, but I felt like more so guilt overshadowed, that kind of those kinds of aspirations.
That's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, think of it how you want it. So
Yeah. So then, like, what do you think about the ending?
Like you said, the ending was pretty cheap, and it wasn't earned.
Yeah.
Like the characters didn't earn their destiny of getting saved.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like, spoiler alert, they were saved by a chopper. But,
a UN chopper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we were told in the beginning of the movie that the peninsula itself was quarantined.
Yeah.
So no official body was, like, allowed in that part of land.
Yeah, and also in the middle of the movie, when the main character meets up with the good survivors, the family, the mother, the mom, and the grandpa. The grandpa, he keeps claiming that he's in radio contact with a quote-unquote Major Jane.
Yes.
And then
but we thought that he was going bonkers, right?
Either going bonkers or just trying to just trying to stay strong in front of the mother and the kids. Right. But then at the ending on that chopper, one UN soldier comes out and her name tag is Jane. And I was just thinking, get the fuck out of here! Like, come on.
Right, and the grandpa, he dies a very unfortunate death, but at the same time, the movie doesn't give a shit about it.
Yeah, I had no idea. Was he the real grandpa?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like, is he the real grandpa to them, or? Was he just, like, saving the family from Unit 631 in the beginning? Yeah.
And also, kind of jumping off of that, those two daughters that we find, now, if I remember correctly, at the beginning of the movie, that mother, she was only holding one daughter.
Yes.
So I don't even know in the middle of the movie when we meet those two daughters,
right?
Which daughter is hers?
Was she in the car? She napping?
Yeah, like, absolutely zero background for the story.
Sure.
Definitely the ending, especially near the ending, it becomes very relevant that they're going for style, not substance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, the chopper comes. Yeah. The peninsula is quarantined.
Yeah. Now, I mean, before that happens, when they're kind of escaping from Unit 631 to, I guess in the end, they're originally trying to go to Incheon Port to catch a boat. But before that, Unit 61, they're all chasing the main characters in their cars. And when they started doing that, that was the last action scene. I was just thinking, okay, so they're going like the Mad Max route.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, it kind of seemed like Mad Max route, and also the Walking Dead route, in terms of, like, the style, and also like the mannerisms of, the bad intentions of the antagonists.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was. It's kind of weird because I actually thought that CGI was a little bit better than the CGI that was done in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, overall, the CGI was crap. The car chase scene was just crap. Unrealistic.
Yeah.
Very Gran Turismo-ish.
I was going to say very, like, Fast and Furious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I thought it would have been much better if they actually shot the scenes. Like, not through CGI.
But practically.
Yeah, with real cars.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously that would have been a logistical nightmare for them to do.
I mean,
think of how
if they really pulled it off, then it would have been even more epic.
It would have, but I mean, I understand that. I mean, hell, even like Marvel movies, or any other type of CGI heavy movie, they gotta cut corners somewhere.
Well, think about what's that movie? The Bourne Supremacy. No, it's Bourne Supremacy. What's the first one?
The Bourne Identity?
Yeah, the Bourne Identity. The car scene?
Yeah.
I mean, like, they didn't use any CGI, and I thought
that's true.
Superb.
Yeah.
Even more superior than
what they
call this crap.
Well, also, that wasn't set during an apocalyptic zombie-infested city.
Yeah, exactly. But, you could have maybe shot the scene in maybe, like a more desolate region of Gyeonggi-do, like maybe Paju,
possibly,
because you don't really see that many cars in Paju.
Yeah, I would be very curious to know which scenes were real, because I can imagine that there was I remember a portion of the car chase scene that went down just a small alley, and I could see them maybe practically doing that.
Nah, no, I think besides the scene where they were hot wiring, and driving it through Omok Bridge. Yeah. I mean, everything else was CGI.
Yeah, that's probably true. Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess overall, would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, it's a good bad movie. It's enjoyable, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like one of those movies that kind of bombs, right, in the very beginning or 25% into the movie. Yeah. Like, this movie is actually entertaining. Okay. But you do have your gripes if you're a movie critic.
Yeah, I mean, so just very quickly before we started recording, I was just checking out some of the reviews, and it seems that the average consensus for critics is that people who are diehard fans of the original, sure, they're going to watch it and they're going to be enjoyed, but other people, it's going to be somewhat disappointing. It's got some good action scenes, but I guess the negative aspects kind of overshadow it.
Yeah, I really appreciated Train to Busan. I saw it maybe 10 times already.
Did you really? Wow. Yeah,
just to kind of catch something that I that I might have missed. Yeah. And, it kind of shows that I really appreciated it. Mm-hmm. But Peninsula, I don't know, maybe I'll watch it one more time just to see if I caught anything. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't come anywhere close. Yeah. To Train to Busan.
Yeah. I think that I would guess this is pure speculation, but I would guess that behind the scenes, the studios, they saw the returns for Train to Busan and they're thinking, oh shit, we got a franchise, we got zombies, we're gonna make sequel after sequel, TV show, video games, all that kind of stuff. And then the director was maybe either overwhelmed or just kind of maybe didn't give a crap. I wouldn't say he did. Okay. He didn't give a crap. I mean, I think that
he was nowhere close to giving a crap. I mean, well, he gave a crap. Yeah. Let's say that, but I think he took a risk.
And also maybe he was trying to please too many people. I think if he had stuck with one theme, or not just one theme, but I think it was kind of a mishmash of different themes and topics, and it didn't really gel together.
Well, there was a child character in Train to Busan, but it didn't mean that it was for kids, right?
Yeah.
But maybe teens or middle schoolers could watch this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say. I'd definitely say teens. I don't know about middle schoolers. I think that might be a little...
No, because in Train to Busan, the girl, she didn't have any humor. She kind of was the wise man on the chair, right? Sitting on the chair.
That's true.
Kind of observing her father's actions, irrational actions.
Yeah. I was really hoping that they would catch up with those two characters that survived at the end of Train to Busan. Yeah. I genuinely wanted to know what happened with them. Also, one last thing that I thought was humorous, but not in a good way, were some of the foreign actors.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that... I mean, they pulled it off, but,
they ain't going to be winning an Oscar for anything. Right. Yeah. So what I do know from talking with other foreign actors, expats in Korea, who are trying to get into the Korean entertainment industry. What they've told me is that they know that sometimes their acting comes off really bad, but what they told me is that that's what they were instructed to do by the directors. Yeah. So it's not really their fault. But you were mentioning about how they were trying to explain what was going on the Korean Peninsula through like some type of like late show format.
Right. Well, was it a doctor that was invited on the show?
I don't even know. Like, did they label him? Like, was he? Did they? I don't even think.
Yeah, he was in a suit, and the late show host was.
It looked like the Tonight Show.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. No, but why would you say? Why would you kind of brief like viewers about the situation in the peninsula?
Yeah, of a zombie pandemic
at that hour, in that hour.
Yeah, at that hour in that type of format.
Yeah, I'm supposed to laugh at that hour.
It should be 60 minutes. It shouldn't be the Late Show.
Yeah, exactly. It should be a 60 minutes platform. That's what it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So thanks for listening, everyone. You can check out both Train to Busan and Peninsula on streaming services right now. Take care, guys.